All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the What You Don't Hear podcast. This is a 15-minute Friday. Ross here as always, and this time sitting across from me is, well, I say this time, but it's a lot of the times, my near co-host for the 15-minute Fridays, honestly, Josh Emerick, back on the pod.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, as always.
I know it's pulling teeth to get you to be down to do these things, as if we're not, spending an entire day usually before we do these, creating a bunch of other stuff anyway. It's very hard to get you to sit down and talk about these things with me.
Well, let's be real for a second. We talk
Let's pull the curtain back.
Yeah, we talk about this stuff all the time, and I know we've said this before, but it's enjoyable to talk about a lot of these subjects. But more than anything, it's like, hey, let's put this into an actionable advice. Like, there are a lot of people that not only ourselves talk to, we don't just have these conversations amongst each other, but we have these conversations amongst several other people.
Right.
So it's like, clearly, I'd like to think there's some value we're offering here.
Yes. So far, there's been a handful of these released, and so far, no one's complaining that Josh is a returning guest. So I think we might be onto something here.
That's true.
I think they might be okay with you being the most reoccurring guest on the What You Don't Hear podcast. But there's a point to that, and today's point, the subject of this episode is something that I know you're pretty stoked probably to talk about. I know this is something, again, like you said, we talk about it a lot, but I know you're real big on this over on your side of the internet, at Josh Emerick, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow him. He'll plug that again at the end. But you talk about this a lot, and this is, what is it? What is it?
We're talking about, focusing on yourself, self-love.
I thought you were going to say the one where you said the F word and stuff.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, you weren't going to say that on air.
That was off the pod.
That was off the pod when you were like, I fucking love self-love.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I just said it for you. So
I said something really cool before we started this. So.
Well, and I just tried to rehash it.
I'm less cool.
And now this video is demonetized. But yes, this episode topic is the value of focusing on yourself. It's something that, of course, we talk about a lot. We share a lot of stuff about on the internet pretty often. But I think, as creatives, but as human beings in general, it's something that is often forgot about, especially when you're somebody who really focuses on trying to help a lot of other people as much as you can, whether that's creating something for them or providing some sort of service or just being a good friend or a good person. It's very, very easy to focus a lot of your energy on what you're giving to others rather than what you're actually giving to yourself. That self-love. So that's the topic. That's what this 15-minute Friday is all about. I'm going to go ahead and start the timer, and then, Josh, I'm going to let you take it away. So let's go.
All right. So I think for me, this is a broad subject. That's why it's so fun. There's a lot of ways that you can look at focusing on yourself. I think the core thing is a lot of people get, hung up on selfishness. And I think selfishness, that word gets a bad rap, but only because of the way other people form that word. I think it's good to be selfish. I think it's just really defining what that word is. Being selfish for yourself, filling yourself up first, then you can really give to other people.
Yeah.
I think in our position, running business, that is where it really gets difficult. You're excited about building something in the beginning, then you're pressured by your clients, by other creatives, by being compared to other people. And that's when you really get tunnel visioned in the sense of like, how do I be a better business person, or how do I make a better project? And you're really just serving someone else, and you're really neglecting a lot of your needs. Sure, I'm excited when I make a great project. That's always exciting. But we've been at this for a while now, and now things are transitioning for us to where we're doing more narrative work again. And that's really treating ourselves as a client, and we've wanted to do that for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's taken us 3 to 5 years to get to a point of like, okay, let's treat ourselves as a client. That's one example.
Yeah. Well, and I think the sum up of that is, letting yourself have fun with, a skill that you have. So again, talking in particular from our point of view of running business and doing creative work as our jobs, it's very, very easy to get caught up in only doing things for other people. We are constantly, creating video work or photo work or design or campaign management or consulting, and we're doing all these things for so many other people that it's very easy to get caught up in, oh, I don't even do this for myself. I don't treat myself as the client. What good things am I giving to myself? Have I edited something that I need done? recently? Or have I even, taken health and stuff into consideration? Have I focused on my personal health, or am I just in go mode all the time? And that's a big part of this that I want to talk about from my perspective, is just that, being in go mode 24/7. Now, I think it's kind of maybe one of those, I think this is the right verbiage, like a catch-22 situation where I want to be in go mode 24/7. I like it, right? I really do. I want to always have something to do. I hate the fact that people go to bed at night because it slows something down. But I think that's all. There's, of course, a purpose to that, right? And it's showed me, the deeper I've got into this stuff, of it's okay to not be in go mode 24/7. How many times have I texted you over the years, and especially in the last year or two when we've really started to focus on this stuff, how often have I texted you and been like, dude, I sat and I watched movies today. And I didn't really answer an email. Sure, you're going to scroll through the internet, answer some DMs, or talk to somebody about a project or something. That's always going to happen, small things. But I didn't do a production. I didn't have a meeting. I didn't go do a shoot. I didn't develop something or whatever. I just relaxed, right? And that, I know for me personally, I don't know how much you can speak on this or what you want to add, but that has been one of the biggest things that I've done to focus on myself, and really learning the value of letting myself rest, letting myself just relax, and not always trying to be on point and always trying to go. And I think maybe, and obviously I'm jumping around here, so whatever points you want to make, just interject. But I think that also kind of leads into making sure you're the best version of you, so that way whatever you're putting out, whatever you're interacting with, is also a better version or the best version that you can give. Because if I'm sitting and I'm in go mode 24/7 and I'm cranking out projects and doing all this sort of stuff, and I'm tired or I'm unhealthy or I'm whatever, clouded mind with 100 ideas, is the stuff that I'm producing, for lack of a better term, is it the best I could be doing? Because I'm maybe not the best version of myself.
I want to rewind back to the go mode for a second. And the one piece that you said is hey, I'll relax, watch some movies. I encourage you now. This is something, especially in the last year or so, before production, I encourage you, take the day off before set. Because I need you to be as sharp as possible on set, because you got to deal with all the clients. You got to deal with, some team questions. You got to deal with just micromanage a bunch of people. So for me, it's I want you to be sharp. I want you to be relaxed. Whereas my day before production, it's I'm setting up all the camera, all the wireless signal and everything like that to make things smooth. But I always make sure I get, 10 to 12 hours of, not necessarily sleep, but relax before we're on set the next day. I'm not going to be up until 2 hours before,
right,
and us be fatigued. And in the past, that's what we used to do. Go mode to me is a lot more than just right now in the moment. And I think, you even saying go mode of hey, I always want to be in go mode. There's a difference in being in go mode 100% for other people, and then being in go mode for yourself and others. And I think for me, I want to be in go mode when I'm with family. Okay, it's family time now. I'm in go mode with family. Okay, it's production time now. I'm go mode for my team. All right, now it's go mode for me developing personal content. But it's percentage. It's being intentional with your time. I love that word, intentional.
Yes,
but
yeah.
It is really being intentional about that. And I think where we really got to, early years, we go, 6-9 months at a time of doing the same thing, not necessarily the same projects, but okay, we're going to prep it the same way.
Same
we're going to
processes.
shoot it. The process never really adapted. We might talk about, this went bad or that went bad, but it'd be 6 to 9 months. Then we'd be here's everything that's wrong. We're going to really change everything up now, whether that be team, whether that be tools, whether that be, just how do we get our hours reduced? We were in go mode. And now it's we might go a month or something, we might prep a bunch of projects at the same time because we single task it. But we're a lot more focused on how do we refine the process and get out of go mode. And
right.
This is self-focus. You're focusing on, we're talking about business right here. So we're focusing on, the business process. But that's also what are you doing good as a director? What am I doing good as a DP?
Right.
And how do we become the best version of that every single time?
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, something you even said of, it's sort of about, being present in the moment and stuff like that. But I think that can also be turned into, if you're showing yourself self-love, right? And you're focusing on yourself and you're valuing who you really are and what you want to do. I think that's, there's something to be said there with like, having a clear mind equals clear motives, right? So it's not, like I said earlier, it's not clouded up with 100 different ideas all the time, which I'll admit mine is still, but I think that's, a deeper part of managing that is how you value yourself, how you show that self-love, because, I'm not going to beat myself up over the fact of, oh man, I've got 100 ideas I want to get done and I didn't get them all done today, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, rather than just like letting those things breathe and know like, okay, what do I want to do with those things? What's my plan to execute those things? Because then I'm having clear motives, right? I know what my motivation is in any moment. I know what my motivation is stepping onto a set of making the best product we can that day and leading a team the best way. I know what my motive is going into a meeting, or even, it might sound weird to describe, structuring this, but even, breaking it down into like hanging out with friends or something, you know what I mean? Know what your motives are and know what kind of energy you're going to give or take.
How do you get the best experience from that?
Right.
This friend I hang out with this way, this friend I hang out with this way.
Exactly.
This client wants this out of us. This client wants this out of us.
Yes.
Not to interject too much, but, like even in the meeting sense, like I'm going to shift gears a little bit, but for me, a big change for me was diet. Like just literally taking care of myself, because in building business, I sacrifice my health, whether that be, just eating poorly or not, like really just taking care of myself, like not getting proper sleep, telling myself, you got to work hard. You got to work hard. I'd go years with like 2 to 3 hours of sleep and I'd say, I can function like this just fine. And I was severely in go mode. Now I value getting enough sleep. Now I value eating the right food that gives me the right energy. One, it's selfish. I want to feel good. Like everyone made fun of me because for my back, like my back doesn't hurt me now. You know why? Because I freaking drink more water and I do stretches.
Yep.
And guess what? Now you guys don't have to listen to me complain about how horrible my back and bones. And I care about myself a little bit more. And when I care about myself a little bit more, you guys don't have my negative energy of complaining about my body and everything like that. Right. You get the best version of Josh. So when I'm treating myself well, I'm treating you guys well. And as a leader, I'm someone of an influence.
Right.
So what influence do I want to put on you guys? Not to say that you guys are looking to everything that I do, but it's like my actions do convey something, whether that's trust in the business, whether that's trust in me on a friendship level, whatever that may be. But if I start to take care of myself, then I start to take care of my people a lot better. I start to be a better husband. I start to be a better father. Like, this isn't just business. This is just, who do you want to be and what's your value system?
Being a human.
Yeah, not everyone's the same. I'm not saying you need to get 8 hours of sleep.
Right.
You got to drink water. I'm saying that's important to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And you and I, like, we both have different forms of self-love.
Yeah,
and we know 100%. That about each other. I don't criticize you for, man, you should sleep more and you should have less goals. Like, for me, I'm like, here's my thing. Here's what I'm good at. I'm really okay with that.
Right.
And this is where I'm at now. I did my years of grind.
Right.
And I'm super content with where I'm at. 5 years from now, that'll change.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing, too, is like, we're sitting here, we're talking about it on a podcast right now. This is an ever-evolving thing. So anybody listening to this that even may take something away from it or be like, oh, I should adjust this or change it, you already said it, but it's also, it's going to be determined by you and what works best for you. You sitting and saying, this is a great example. You're like, I need, 8 hours of sleep. I want to go to sleep at, whatever PM, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to wake up this time in the morning because I'm the most energized. I'm going to knock stuff out. I'm the total opposite right now. I'm absolutely like, I found out how I can function on, 4 or 5 hours of sleep or sometimes less, but I also know what I need to do to value myself and to help myself the next day. You know what I mean? I'm already thinking about that of like, okay, well, I'll go on a jog, or I'll go on a walk, or a run, or I'll work out a little bit, or I'm going to do this, or I've lined up my schedule for the next day that I know is going to energize me, and I know that I can trade that off for, yeah, I'm not going to sleep that much the night before. So what I'm saying is the system is different for everybody, right? No matter what you're saying right now, what I'm saying right now, anybody listening to this or watching it, what you're going to take away from it is something that you need to mold into who you are and what works best for you. And that goes back to the just be selfish point of view of you don't have to listen to what everybody on a podcast or anybody talking to you is telling you what's best for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's the part of being selfish, and the positive side of being selfish, and looking, inward and figuring out, okay, what works best for me. Because, I think there's also something here as we start to come up on our 15 minutes, like there's also a big point I want to make about, the kind of the law of attraction, right? And you are, you're the sum of the things that you intake, right? But you're also then putting that back out into the world. So at the core of that, it's the classic case of like, if you don't love yourself, how can you really love somebody else? If you're not really happy with who or what you are, can you really share that energy with somebody else in any way, whether it's a work environment, a friend, a relationship, whatever it may be? So let's talk on that real quick, the kind of attraction thing.
I want to interject with something. This is right in alignment. And some people might be saying, well, how do I figure out what is me? What do I love? How do I love myself? The honest, way to find this is the internal narrative that you have in your head. A lot of times I go to meetings. I didn't shift my health until I really realized when I go to meetings, I'm really self-conscious about my image. I've gained a lot more weight. I'm not proud of myself. And I kind of hate myself. I actually really hated myself at one point in time. And I didn't realize how much I hated myself until I started loving myself. That was the big realization for me, is like, hey, if I can't, the narrative in my head was, if I can't take care of my own health, and I'm embarrassed to be in a meeting and I'm wondering, like, how could they trust me with their project because I can't even take care of myself? That's a lie. No one, maybe some people think that, but for the most part, no one really thinks that. But that's the story in my head. So that's important to me. And until that changes, nothing's going to change in my life. I'm going to hate myself. And if I hate myself, I'm no good to anyone else. And as soon as I started loving myself, that's when a new Josh bloomed. That's when the best me came out. And I look at myself 2-3 years ago and I'm like, man, I was really just scraping by. I was getting lucky. I was doing good work and I was working hard for sure. But I was really my internal monologue was awful.
Right. And it is about figuring out what that really is. What is the clear motive of what you want and who you want to be, and the things that you then want to attract. We've talked about it before of you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. We didn't make that up, heard it from somewhere else, but I love that idea. And that plays into that self-love of, if you are somebody who you feel like you're unhealthy or you're not happy, again, just in any way with who you are, what are you ingesting? And I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about anything. What are you ingesting on a day-to-day basis? What kind of people are you surrounding yourself with? What kind of situations are you putting yourself in? You know what I mean? And again, those can be positive or negative, but how are you reacting to them? How are those things making you feel? So like you saying, I would go to a meeting and I would feel awful about myself. Well, it's not necessarily that the meeting went awful. It's not like the client is sitting and saying to you, wow, look how overweight you are. It's not so much of that. But again, it's like you recognize that you were having an inner struggle in a battle with, I'm not getting everything out of this situation that I could be because my mind is on this or my mind is on my image. So again, if you're doing that on a daily basis, what other things are you really attracting?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What different shape could your life take?
You're able to fully focus.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. Once you reduce these sort of things, I have my own internal battles right now of I set goals. All right, I'm still working. Health is not an end. Business is not an end. But every time you start to identify some of these weaknesses in yourself, then you can kind of create tangible goals. and you can work towards them.
Right.
And when you start to work towards them of these small things, but that are actually really huge to your personal DNA, once you start to figure that out, then everything gets a lot easier. I think we can agree. Business has gotten a lot easier for us. In the last 2 years, we've had more difficult problems than ever before in the last 2 years, but we've navigated them much easier because we are becoming the best versions of ourselves. And
Right.
there's not a finish line. Like I'm looking forward to 80-year-old Josh. 30-year-old Josh I'm happy right now, but I know 35-year-old, 50-year-old, 80-year-old, I'm going to evolve more and more and more. My values are going to slowly shift more and more and more. And there's
Right.
going to be new ways to love myself.
Yes, 100%. We broke our 15 minutes, and I feel like you just
Sorry.
had a solid ender monologue, realistically. And I think as we wrap up, that's kind of what this is, we're sharing this and we're talking about this subject, again, because it's something that you and I have both found out, right? You and I have both kind of uncovered this value of self-love and focusing on yourself and figuring out how to be the best version of yourself that you can, so then you are attracting the things and the life that you actually truly want. And it's a work in progress. Every single day, everything you just said, 35-year-old Josh is going to maybe feel differently than the Josh now and want different things and want to spend time differently. Me right now being like, hell yeah, I can go on 4 hours of sleep. Like, I like doing that. And even looking forward, there is a part of me that's like, that's kind of just how I am. It's how I've always been. But at some point that can still change. But again, at the core of identifying what works for me and what doesn't, that's what's going to determine realistically what my everyday is and how I feel about myself within that. So again, you're the sum of everything that you intake, whether it's people, entertainment, via social media or movies or podcasts like this or whatever. Know that always builds who you really are, whether you know it or not. So maybe identify, what are you ingesting in those sorts of things, whether it's educational, entertainment, whatever it is. And also, what are you putting out into the world? Because you will attract the style of things that you can put out. So again, at the core of it all, you have to love yourself first before you can truly love anything else. Or maybe, if anything else can truly love you or feed you in the positive way that you need. That makes sense?
I love it.
Cool.
It makes sense to me.
There it is. As long as it makes sense to Josh, who is my guest on this episode,
Listen,
that's all I need.
If it makes sense to me, it should make sense to a lot of people because things got to be broken down for me to understand them. That's how I am.
There's the big reveal that you're basically saying you don't know anything at the end of this.
I'm saying I'm a little ignorant on a lot of things, so I need it really spelled out.
You've revealed that a couple times at the end of a couple of these 50-minute Fridays, and I mean, like I said at the start of this, it's paying off. I think people understand and people are on board. So luckily, it hasn't pushed anybody away. But again, even to that point, we're just a work in progress, right? Maybe 35-year-old Josh is just gonna kill all these points and be like, I don't need anything described to me or broken down because I know exactly what you're talking about. Give me a vague thing and I know it.
And
I know what it is.
I'll cringe at 30-year-old Josh. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, what a little sissy.
There's a good chance we could look back at these 50-minute Fridays or anything else that we've done and have just a huge cringe fest because we could be like, wow, they really thought.
Definitely haven't done that already.
Never once have looked back on, printing EP sleeves custom for local bands because we were in go mode 24/7 and thought that we had to give every bit of ourselves to our clients, and we charged no money, and you went in debt like $1,000 for ink, and it drove you to get day drunk at one point in time, which you never do. That's a whole other story for another 15-minute Friday, honestly. But that was this episode. So Josh, really quick, if anybody wants to talk to you about self-love, where can they find you on the internet? Even though I said it earlier, let's just say it again.
IG, that is always the best place to follow me. J.M. Emerick.
Boom. There it is. Of course, don't forget to follow the podcast at WYDH Pod. If you want to talk to me any about this stuff, you can follow me at Who's Ross Theisen. Theisen is spelled Theisen. Realistically, I know we just joked around a bunch, but seriously, this is a big thing. We would love to talk to any of you about this, and I really do truly hope you gained even the slightest bit of something from this 50-minute Friday. So, thanks for listening, guys.